In some point of your life, you must have had FOMO, or what we call fear of missing out. In this video, we're going to understand what creates this fear of missing out and how we could try to minimize it as much as possible. Let's take a look. So in behavioral economics, there's a lot of subjects that I really enjoy, but this regret theory or fear of missing out is by far one of my favorites. I find it's a very powerful subject and it drives a lot how we behave, but also how we feel and how we could be sad with outcomes that should be very happy. And it's just something that we have to keep in mind in this day and age where we are bombarded with images of other people doing other things. And it always makes us think, well, should I have been there? Should I do this? And this constant battle of asking ourselves, what is really the best decision, actually reduces our satisfaction and our happiness in life. So this fear of missing out, or this regret theory, applies and it fits well with the paradox of choice, which is seen in behavioral economics as well, and loss aversion. And the way this regret theory works relative to risk aversion and loss aversion, it's based on choice, but then there's also this uncertain outcome that you do not necessarily control. So the classic example of regret theory is a situation that you leave home and you're going to work and you're walking to work, and you either have the choice of bringing your umbrella or not bringing your umbrella. And if you bring your umbrella and it ends up raining, you're happy. If you don't bring your umbrella and it doesn't end up raining, you're happy. But if you don't bring your umbrella and it ends up raining, well, then you regret your decision. You're really unhappy with your decision. And the thing that happens here is that raining or not is out of your control. It's just something that we do not control. So we're trying to establish what's going to be the outcome of a certain event that we don't really know. And it's this fear of behaving in a wrong way or making the wrong decision that makes us act in a certain way. So if you think about going to a party or going to a certain event or a trip, this fear of missing out will often kind of prime your decisions because you don't want to be that person who missed out on this event that ended up being the best event of the year. It's really going to have a negative influence on your happiness. Another example I thought of when I was going through this process was a few years ago. I had the choice on a weekend to take it easy around here, go sailing with friends. I love to go sailing, enjoy the nice weather, or drive all the way down to the East Coast and then Maine and go surfing with friends. And I wasn't sure which decision to take. And both decisions are good. The sailing decision is going to be good pretty much regardless, unless there's not much wind and it's just very boring. But if I know the weather's going to be good, it's going to be a good event. The surfing outcome, though, is going to be very good if the waves are good and not so good if they're not that good. In the end, I ended up sailing, I believe, that year. And when the weekend ended and I spoke to my friends and they told me, yeah, the waves were really bad. We just ended up chilling on the beach the whole weekend. Well, in that situation, I'm actually really happy with my decision. And I really had fun sailing. However, if my friends would have come back and they would have said, that was the best waves we've seen in Kennebunk in the whole years we've ever been there. It was so good. There was no one on the beach. We just caught wave after wave after wave. Even though I really enjoyed sailing, all of a sudden, all of this satisfaction and happiness related to the choice that I did just completely disappears based on this idea of, oh shit, I missed out. And that was the best event and it completely detracts from my happiness. So it's a very bad situation. It's good to not want to miss out on certain events, but if then you're lowering your satisfaction because this other event was better in a certain way, well, it shouldn't negatively impact the fun that you had. Same thing happens if you're shopping for a flight to go somewhere and you get a good deal. You buy it for like $800 to go to a certain destination. And then as weeks go by, you're just like, oh, I'll take a look to see whether the flights are more expensive or cheaper now. And all of a sudden you notice that the same flight that you're on is $500. Well, all of a sudden you feel really bad about that decision that you made because the outcome would have been favorable for you to make the other decision. Same kind of idea of bringing that umbrella and raining or not. Same kind of idea that you don't control the changes in prices. You can estimate it as best as possible, but you don't control it. You have to make a decision. So even though buying that flight early leads to a certain level of certainty in terms of you know how much you're going to pay, if you decide to postpone that decision, it could be lower, but it could also be a lot higher. Well, certainty normally is a good thing, but losing out in terms of what you could have got if you waited a little longer actually detracts from your happiness. So at the end of the day, one of the ways to try to alleviate this fear of missing out, or this regret theory, and it's a hard thing to do in life, is once you make a decision, it's just completely push aside and don't look at the other options. I'm not saying not to speak to your friends about how the trip was, but don't seek it too much. As you're sailing, don't go on Instagram trying to see whether they're catching good waves or not and asking them constantly like, how's it going and everything else. And when you choose to do other events, if you choose to just take it easy in a certain evening, don't constantly seek to see if your friends are really having a good time without you or not. So it's trying to find a way to buying a flight, but then not looking at the prices, how they fluctuate over time. Because even though it could be a better deal, what's it going to change to you? Your flight's paid for. You shouldn't feel this negative satisfaction based on that. So hopefully you understand better this regret theory, which we could associate it to the paradox of choice, because at the end of the day, it's your decision. And because it's your decision to either bring an umbrella or not, or go on this trip or not, it's really you that you blame if you've made the wrong decision. And it's something we have to move away from. And then based on loss aversion, this idea of just losing out a bit, even if the event was just a little bit better than the one you did, it was just a little bit more satisfying, because you didn't go, that feeling of loss hurts much more than the feeling of gain if it was the flip side. So that's also to consider in this whole spectrum. So try to think of different ways that in life you feel regret, and try to think of solutions to avoid that regretful feeling. And hopefully that's going to help you live a happier, more fulfilling life. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real life examples. Have a good day.